I have started seeds. My first tray is peppers. The first one was the Trevino Chusca. I'm going to try those this year. The Santa Fe Grande, the Pasillo Bajo, Sweet Banana, Sheep Nose Pimento, stock from Ace. That just means this is the bell pepper that my Ace Hardware carried, just a green bell pepper. Also the California Wonder. And then I've started some melons. My Ford Hook Gem melon, which last year the deers just completely tore apart. I'm going to try the mainstream cantaloupe this year. And the Pedigree Duran, which is a good little cantaloupe from Baker Creek. The next tray is some winter squash and pumpkins. The Cushaw Green striped. I'm going to try the North Georgia Candy Roaster. And then there's a little heirloom one called Miss Amerson's. I got those seeds from Seed Savers Exchange. I just wanted to try it. Not sure what that's all about. And then the butternut ragusa squash. I'm going to try that one. It's supposed to be very, very sweet. We have the Cherokee Tan pumpkin I'm going to try. I'm also going to try the sugar pie pumpkin. I think I can grow that good down here. This front one is called a pastella, which is just a winter squash. I got the seeds for free from Sandhill Preservation. They even said that it's not the greatest taste, but that it makes this beautiful vine. I just figured, let me put a seed in the tray. I'm going to just see what it's all about. The one in the back of that is the Hessel Sugarloaf winter squash. Don't know much about it either. I got the seeds, I believe, from Fedco. I'm just going to try it. The Kajari melon, I'm going to try that. The Piel de Sapo melon is supposed to be delicious. I'm also going to go with the Golden Jenny melon. And then the Iroquois muskmelon, which is basically a cantaloupe, just a little bit different, but I grew those last year and they were delicious. I did have a few come through for me and they were delicious. I'm going to try the honeydew melon just because I love honeydew melons even more than cantaloupes. And then the Sierra Gold cantaloupe. Next, I get to my tomatoes. I have so many tomatoes going. The Atkinson tomato is going to be probably one of my better ones this year, I hope, based on how it did last year. I'm going to try the Eva Purple Ball just because it sounds interesting and I want to grow it. As always, I'm going to put some Cherokee Purple seeds in there and some Moskvich seeds, which are from Johnny's Seeds. It's an heirloom. We just really wanted to try it. And then the Super Sue, which is supposed to grow good in heat. Mamie Brown's Pink, that just sounded interesting. I put it in my definitely pile. The Tasty Lee, which is a hybrid. I'm hoping it'll be very prolific. The Brandywine Pink made my maybe list, but I had a little extra room, so I stuck it in here. And then the Rutgers is hopefully going to be a good heirloom for me to try for some production. I'm also going to go with the Orange Jubilee. And that one I just really wanted to try just to see how it'll do. I had some extra room at the end of my tray, so I'm starting some green husk tomatillos. I grew a beautiful green husk tomatillo plant last year, but you have to have more than one for them to do. So I'm going to try that again this year. And I'm also starting some lovage because I tried to direct seed it, haven't had luck, but I do believe if I start some seeds, it'll go a little bit better than that. The last tray on my shelf is still tomatoes. The Italian heirloom, of course, is one of my favorites. Have to have that. The Robe Mountain Tomato and the Mary Rose McMurray are both from Sustainable Mountain Agricultural Center. I've grown the Robe Mountain, delicious. I'm going to try that Mary Rose McMurray this year. And the Mexico Midget, that was just a winner for me last year. It's a beautiful and plant and a great cherry tomato, and I just loved it. I've got to grow it again. And the production on it was amazing. The next three are the Wilson Yellow Gold, the Willard Win, and the Worley Red, and they are all from Sustainable Mountain Agricultural Center. It's 3 heirlooms I've never tried, but I really, really want to grow them and just see what I can get off of them. I'm going to go with Matt's Wild Cherry from Johnny's. It's supposed to be wonderful. I'm very curious about the Amana Orange tomatoes, so I want to grow that. The Paul Robeson is always a winner. Can't go wrong with that. The Red Currant, I heard reseeds itself prolifically, so I'm just going to let it maybe grow along a fence and just see what happens. The last thing is papyrus. That's not a tomato. That's a green ornamental plant that's supposed to grow good in some wet areas. So I'm going to plant it in a couple of key spots around my property. I only have 3 germination mats there, there, and there. You can see the condensation is on those 3 on the saran wrap, but it's not on that 4th tray. I planted the 4th tray last night. I planted the others Monday. I did order a germination mat to go with it because I really need a 4th one, and it will be in Friday, but it'll be okay until then. Well, I had to break down and put some plants back in my window. I had to put my artichoke plants and my asparagus plants back here because the asparagus plants were getting so tall. Whenever all those peppers and tomatoes germinate that are on my grow shelf over there, I'm going to have to lower the grow lights and turn them on, but I can't do that with these big tall asparagus plants. So I just had to make a choice and go ahead and move these over here. I repotted them and I think they'll do fine and I think they'll grow good over here. We'll just have to see. I don't really have a choice at this moment because that's all the space that I have. My artichoke plants got off to a slow start, but I think they'll be okay once I've repotted them, and I think they'll hang in there. Well, I got the paneling put up along the T-post for my tomato row that's along the edge of my carport. I think it came out fine. It came out how I wanted it to come out. This is not a permanent structure meant to be here for many, many years. I'm just trying something this year. If it works, and if this makes a great gardening area, then I'll do something a little more permanent that'll look a little nicer. But right now, I'm just trying this. At the bottom, I just put a piece of siding that was left over from trimming out our house. There's the opening there, and then there's the other siding along this side. I am going to drive some pieces of metal or some type of stakes behind that so that if we do have a hard rain and anything, wood chips or whatever, washes this way, that it doesn't bend that back. But what I did was I put the cattle panel to the front and then I put the siding behind it. It's braced in the middle by that post, but I definitely have to come back behind these sections here and put some type of little rebar or something to keep it from collapsing. I don't want it to collapse when something hits it. Same on this side. My intention was to plant tomatoes all along here, all along there. That's my little opening, but all along there I wanted to plant some tomatoes. I had even picked out the variety. I was thinking Rutgers tomatoes that I was going to try there. And look at this though. Doesn't that just scream pole beans? When you look at that, can't you just envision pole beans climbing all up on it and tumbling over the backside? I just see pole beans every time I walk by this. Every time I drive up in my car, I just see pole beans. I'm having a lot of trouble visualizing tomatoes here. I just went in my shed and look what I found. It's a piece of metal. It's probably about 2.5 foot long, but it looks like one of those pieces you would put on the side of your cabinet so that you can adjust your shelf heights. I guess that's what it is. But it's probably not real old, but it is rusty. But that's okay. I'm going to use this over there and put it behind one piece of that siding. I could probably cut this in half and use it in 2 spots, but I don't know that I can cut it in half. I do have a grinder, but I really don't. I've never used it before, and it's fixing to rain, and I'm not going to dig in my shed right now and drag out extension cords. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to at least just put this in one spot for now and consider it a gift. And I will find something to use on the other parts later. Or if I can, I'll cut this in half later and at least use it on 2 parts. I need at least 4 pieces of something, but at least I found something. I'm happy to find whatever I can find whenever I find it. I found a good old pair of loppers behind my post here. Yeah, baby, got 2 pieces. I've got a mall right over here. My little carport's becoming a little collection area for all my junk. I love to clean it off, but then things just pile right back up. It's either this or walk across my property every time I need something to go to my storage shed. So sometimes I just leave it over here for a while. But anyway, look here. I got 2 pieces. So I'm going to put one there and one there. And that'll shore this one up for sure for a while. I'll add pieces of other things as I find it. But I'm just so tickled to death about my little cabinet things right now. I'm going to put them to good use. There you go, Kokomo. It's a start. It's a start. I just don't want rain coming that way and coming this way once I get dirt built up in here. Once these daikon radishes grow, and I'm just going to kind of see what they can do with my soil before it's time to plant tomatoes. And once that all happens, then I'm going to build this up some more. I'm going to put some more organic soil. I'm going to put some leaf mulch. I'm going to put some compost and build it up some more. Doing things doesn't always stress me out, but having something on my list to do for months and months and months does stress me out. So I'd rather get this project done, get these T-posts in the ground, get this panel up, and get my little skirting at the bottom and get it secured and just say, I'm done with that. And then I don't have to think about it anymore. I can just kind of work around and plan my garden, and I don't have to really think of the infrastructure too much. I am going to wait a little bit on putting those other pole bean stands up that involve my azalea branches, because while they're azalea branches, and of course they're always out in the weather, I do think that once you harvest them, once you clip them, they start becoming a little brittle, and I'd rather them stay up under my carport where they can kind of stay a little bit more green, I guess you would say, than to leave them out in the weather and go ahead and put them up really, really early when I'm not going to be planting pole beans for about another 5-6 weeks, something like that. I'll probably plant my pole beans towards the end of March, but we're going to watch the weather. We're going to watch the weather. If we're having some kind of cold March, then it may be towards the 1st of April. But the pole beans can handle it. But I'm telling you what, I'm thinking I'm going to have to put some right here. Last year I grew Ideal Market beans and I grew Blue Lake pole beans, which I have grown Blue Lake several times. And I was kind of averse to growing them at first, because whenever you read the descriptions about Blue Lake pole beans, it always says they do good and they're prolific, but it always says this is the type of bean that's used for canning by the commercial factories. That usually when you buy a can of green beans at the store, you're eating Blue Lake beans. So I thought, well, that's boring. I don't want to grow the same thing that I could go buy at the store back in the day, 3 for $1, not anymore. But back in the day, you could go buy green beans 3 for $1 at the store. And if they were Blue Lake beans, I'm like, why do I want to grow Blue Lake beans if I could get those? So I had the seeds for a long time and didn't put them in the ground. But the last couple of years, I've put them in the ground. And they're beautiful. They're a beautiful, prolific, fast-growing, just healthy and productive bean. The only time I have any trouble is if a hornworm gets on my pole beans. It's not enough, hornworms, it's not enough. They mess with all your tomatoes. They like to get on pole beans too. So you have to be careful and you have to watch out for things going after your beans. But those Blue Lake ones are gorgeous. And right alongside them last year, 20 foot of Blue Lakes, I grew 20 foot of the Ideal Market beans. And they did wonderful. That bean has its roots in New Orleans. And it's a kind of a Louisiana bean. But I got the seeds from Seed Savers Exchange up in Iowa. I tried them. They did wonderful. They did good. So I'm kind of thinking, is this the new home for Ideal Market? And is that the new home for Blue Lake stringless pole beans? Huh. I'm thinking it is. We have to make the best use of our space, right? Isn't that the goal, right? I'm just thinking that this is a new home for these. And I'm thinking that a lot of my little branches may be home to some pole beans as I planned, but they may also become little tomato stake areas where I'm putting some tomatoes on these. We're gonna have to see. trying my best to make use of what I have, to make use of what's around me, and to not just run to the store, but to try to get creative. We'll see what happens. This is Lainey from Hilltop Home Place. I've got azaleas blooming in February. What you gonna do? Might as well use them. Y'all have a great day, and thanks for joining me. Get those seeds started. Get your gardens thought out. Get your plan made. Spring is almost here. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.